Welcome to Health, Wellbeing and Lifestyle, where professionals in the field educate, inform and inspire the community to live a healthier and balanced life and live the lifestyle they love. Our first guest today is men's coach and registered nurse, Kosta Michalopoulos, and he's here to talk to us about masculinity and the 4 pillars. Welcome to the program, Kosta.
Thank you so much for having me, Melissa.
In terms of masculinity, what are the 4 pillars?
Throughout my journey over the last 25 years in healthcare, I've worked with lots of men. And throughout my personal journey as well, I've realized that everything comes down to the 4 pillars of how we function as men. Emotions, beliefs, habits, and our relationships. And if we break down all these 4 pillars, it pretty much covers our emotional and intellectual and physical being as men. So emotions, what are we feeling? Understanding exactly what's happening inside of us. And we often find as men, our vocabulary, our emotional vocabulary can be quite limited. Understanding and giving a voice to what's happening inside, it's actually quite powerful. Beliefs. What are values? What do we believe? How we have been raised as men? The societal expectations, the cultural expectations, religious, where we live, our parents, our little society, how it's impacting us and the way we think and how we function. That creates all our beliefs. Habits. How do we do things? What do we actually do? We have good habits, bad habits. How do we put in practice all our beliefs, their emotions, and how do we function as men? And then ultimately relationships. And I break down the relationships into 2 parts. Relationship with ourselves and relationship with outside world. Whether it's relationship with our loved ones, family, colleagues, nature. So under these 4 pillars, we understand as men what do we need and how do we do things.
In the past, do you think that man looked different to how man is today?
Absolutely. So let's put in context of the 4 pillars how men used to function, let's say 500 years ago, where survival was completely different than what it looks today. So men didn't have the luxury of speaking about emotions. They needed to show up. They needed to be the provider. They needed to be the protector. But things have changed. We fortunately or unfortunately, we don't live in this age anymore. So we live in an age where technology and health has increased so much. So we have the luxury of looking after ourselves, being a bit more curious about what's happening. And I think that's the biggest difference between the men of, let's say, even 20 years ago and the men of today. What do we need? How do we actually get that? And how do we communicate that with our loved ones, with ourselves? So I migrated in Australia in 2001, and looking back, the young man that I was back then, and what was the norm for me, what was the narrative, my narrative as a man in Greece in the 90s and the man that I am today, it's completely different. I was told the story that I needed to man up, I needed to be tough and resilient and stoic, which there's nothing wrong with it, but being able to find that balance, and that balance that I never had in my life up until a few years ago, and now I'm the man where I can understand my emotions and I can express my emotions, and I can define my beliefs and my values, and that can sort of resonate through my habits, and then ultimately through my relationship. So I think this is the biggest difference. The man of today knows what they want and what they need, knows how to communicate that, has the emotional intelligence and the emotional language.
For someone going through a self-discovery journey, do you have any advice?
Absolutely. From personal experience, it takes time. Long time. It's not this linear journey where the start and the end. It has the ebbs and flows, the ups and downs, the wins and lots of losses. So patience is paramount. But the most important thing is awareness. Allowing the knowledge to come through, awareness of our emotions, and I'm coming back to the 4 pillars, awareness of our values, what actually is very important to us, understanding that. How can we change something if we don't know what we're actually changing and why we're changing this? So awareness is very, very important. And then self-love. Talking to men about self-love, it's not easy. It's not easy. We know how to give love, but we don't know how to receive love. As a therapist, it's easy for me to look after people. It's easy to have the advice and the time and the knowledge and the care, but when I try and give that to myself, I just don't know how to do that. And that takes a lot of practice. And that takes lots of, again, ups and downs and lots of mistakes to be able to look at yourself with care and love. And take the time. And I'm not talking, when I say self-love, a lot of men will think, putting moisturizer on my skin or sunscreen. It has nothing to do with that, which is very important. That's very important as well, looking after our physical body. But I'm talking about looking after this, ourselves, and having that inner dialogue. And that little, you want to call it devil or angel, that sometimes sits on the shoulder and just keeps talking. Having the conversation with that little person. And see what it has to say, but not from a place of judgment that we don't want to have this conversation, but from a place of love. The other thing as well, as you're going through the self-development journey, and we're saying the ups and downs, it's very crucial to understand when do you actually need the help. And that help might be just reaching out to loved ones and expressing what's happening, but then that might look into seeking professional help. Might be speaking with a counselor, speaking with a psychologist, speaking with your local doctor, and see what can they actually offer, because it's not an easy journey. It's not a journey that is going to be defined, what we said before, within a few months or a few years. It's an ongoing journey, and having the professional help, it's paramount.
That's really informative. Thanks so much for being on the program, Kosta.
Thank you so much for that, Melissa.
If you'd like to know more about the 4 pillars of masculinity and Kosta, go to his webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And after the break, another guest with an interesting topic.
Stay tuned. After the break, health coach Denise Mokadsi will be discussing the smartest workout for your body type and how you can have the fastest fitness results with less effort. Welcome back. Our second guest is health coach Denise Mokadsi. We'll be discussing the smartest workouts for your body type and how to have the best results with the least amount of effort. Welcome, Denise.
Thank you.
Denise, when it comes to fitness, is more exercise always better?
Sounds like it should be, doesn't it? Like if something's good, let's just do more of it and it'll be better. But that's actually not always true. And our genes have a big part of that. What we do and our genes together, that combination is referred to as epigenetics. And so when we look at what we're doing with our lifestyle and how it influences our genes, then we can make really smart decisions about what we might do, for example, with exercise. So for some people, exercising more might be better if they're not doing much. But if someone's already doing quite a lot, more exercise is going to be harmful. It's all really about stress management, and we can definitely look at someone's body type through epigenetics. We can test for that. We can do measures on how they actually look, which gives us really important information, really interesting information, like the size of someone's muscle and the density of it, and how they respond, whether they've got a lot of fast muscle twitch fibers or slow muscle twitch fibers, makes them more predisposed to particular exercises or workouts. So one will be more suited to sprints, for example. So the fast muscle twitch fiber, they're very good sprinters, whereas the slow twitch muscle fiber are more the endurance kind of bodies. We also can look at whether someone is more of a strength trainer and they get good results building muscle by lifting weights, whereas someone else that might take a lot of work to get a similar result because their body type or their genetics don't suit building muscle, for example. We can look even deeper about the genes and see whether someone has got certain genes that allows them to recover particular ways or how their body uses adrenaline. And again, really, it's all just how do we manage stress, because exercise is a stress. And this is why exercising more is not always exactly the answer, because it introduces more stress into a body.
Is it true understanding your genetics and your exact body type can help you design smarter and more effective workouts overall?
For the sort of a similar reason. So if we know someone's got a lot of genetics, that means that they're going to be a better sprinter. It's better for that person to do more sprint work. It's also about what their goals are. So if they were wanting to build muscle and have a strength program, they could still do it, but it's quite helpful for the trainer to know that their body is more suited to sprint work, and just to give the client realistic expectations that they can still build muscle. But if you think of a weightlifter, they look very different to a marathon runner. You can see the different body types are suited to one particular exercise more than the other. But often we find that people who have a certain goal around something will pick that goal because they know their body that suits their body. Like a marathon runner type body is probably not going to be someone that wants to be a weightlifter. They're going to they like doing more of the sprint work. It feels better for them. And so people can work it out through trial and error. But it's nice to have some genetic testing done to know, okay, I'm going to need more recovery, or my body responds better to one type of exercise than another.
Denise, how do you test for this?
We can look at the DNA sequence and the effect of lifestyle on the sequence to look for these epigenetic markers or variations. And sometimes that can involve a blood test or a urine test or stool or a swab, cheek swab. We're really just looking to see where can we get the genetic information to see what's going on with the genes. We can also do less invasive testing that doesn't require a blood sample, for example. It would be body measurements. We can just look at the different dimensions and proportions of body type, and that will also give us a diagnosis, like the relationship between someone's wrist size and length. You can kind of see it. Like a shorter person with a thicker neck is more likely to be like a strength or a bodybuilder compared to someone with a long, lean neck who's more like a sprinter.
What practical ways could our viewers start making their exercise routines work better for their body types?
Testing is always good because everyone is so different. You can start noticing how you feel. Like if you're doing certain exercise, just see if sprint work feels good for you, or if lifting heavier weights starts to feel good for you, or your body responds well. That can be a good way to tell what's going on for you. It can be tricky though. Sometimes you might see someone else getting a really good response from heaps of interval work that they're doing. So you might think, I'm going to do that too. But maybe that doesn't suit you. And so it puts more stress on your body and you're not getting the results. It might work, but it's just a bit of a guesswork. It's trial and error. Other things people can do is really to notice how well they're recovering after a particular type of exercise. So if they're doing a lot of sprint work and the next day they feel really great and they recover quite well from it, it's probably an exercise that's suiting their body. Whereas if they're just dragging their feet and they feel terrible or feel injured, it's probably not something that suits their body. So just noticing that, like tracking all of that. And I think taking enough recovery time. Lots of people, like, you said at the start, isn't more better. We think it is, but actually we get stronger when we're not training, like when we're sleeping and when we're recovering. So it's important to put in enough recovery sessions. So that might help someone realise, that might be a better way for them to get results because now they're giving their body more time to recover. So, that would be another thing that I'd get people to sort of look at. And speak to a professional, an exercise professional, or get a DNA test to see exactly what's going on for your biology. That's probably the best way to know for sure.
Thanks for such important information, Denise.
Thank you.
If you'd like to know more about Denise and the best workout for your body type, please go to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And after the break, we have another interesting guest with another interesting topic.
Stay tuned. After the break, psychotherapist specialising in hypnotherapy, Julie Makin, will be talking about Dare to Live Authentically. Welcome back. Our last guest is Julie Makin, a psychotherapist specialising in hypnotherapy, here to discuss the topic, Dare to Live Authentically. Hi Julie, it's so great to have you back.
Hi, thank you.
So tell us, what is authenticity?
Being authentic is about being true to yourself and to be asking yourself, is this right for me? Okay, so as an example, I know a lady and she felt hopeless, helpless. She had problems voicing, her wants and needs. She also felt not supported in her family unit. She had a couple of young kids, and a husband that wasn't overly supportive. But when she actually started asking herself, is this right for me, at every choice, the world started to shift for her. People around her started to respond differently to her because she was starting to put up innate boundaries simply by asking herself, is this right for me? And when we do that, our world starts to work for us.
And how else can we live our truth? You've said put up boundaries
So definitely putting in boundaries as to what is right for you. If you're wanting to communicate with somebody, you might start off with an I feel statement. So I feel hurt when walk off on me and I'm in the middle of talking to you. I feel scared when you start to raise your voice. That sort of thing. So those are I feel statements. And the I feel statement is not about blaming the other person. It's about making both parties feel safe. Not only are you getting across what it is that you feel that you need to say, but then it's not landing on the other person as an attack. The other thing that I would say is you might also like to put in a thank you statement. So in a relationship, it might help to say thank you and appreciate that person. Thank you so much for being there for me. I know perhaps I haven't always said thank you for, when you do the dishes, when you pick the kids up from school. So just letting your partner know that you are appreciated. So being authentic, once again, I always come back to listening to the body as to what is right for you. So when you listen to the body and you go, okay, so do I want to go to that party? And if you just listen into your body and you recognize, oh, you know what, that's feeling a little bit challenging. It's, I'm getting all these anxious feelings coming up. And when that happens, I invite you to start to put yourself back in control by saying, okay, do I actually want to go to that party, or do I, not want to go? Because you know what? You have choice. So when you have choice and when you say, yes, you know what? I'm going to go to that party. You are putting yourself back in control. You are putting yourself back into a place of safety. The other things to touch on as far as safety is concerned is to, start breathing properly. So in for 4, out for 4, sometimes even the double breath in, like the Wim Hof double breath in, making sure that you get it all the way down to the gut. Other things to connect with others to help us feel safe is the eye contact. We want to smile at someone. We want to connect with them. So those things help. You could also try like putting your tongue against the roof of your mouth as well. So just tiny little tips. Maybe check your body posture. So if we're feeling, we're crouching over and we're putting our head down, our body starts to feel that little bit low and depressed. But when we like stand up and where our chest is out, we're standing tall, we are proud of who we are confident, and we are showing everybody and putting out this energy. Yes, we are confident. And when you start to live authentically, that starts to happen automatically. Your body starts to do it on its own.
What stops people from living authentically?
Okay, what I feel stops people from living authentically is that conditioning that we had as a child. Once again, I'm going to say my parents were gold star parents. They put the roof over my head. They clothed me. They fed me. They were awesome. They taught me to be compliant, to do as I was told, to put other people's needs ahead of my own. In doing so, they had me feeling like I don't matter. So these are the sorts of things that push aside our feeling of authenticity. Now, that kind of conditioning I had to put up with as a child. I still want to be loved. It's really important for a person to feel loved and included, not rejected. We want to feel supported. We want to feel safe.
Do you have any tips for our viewers?
Oh, absolutely. So once again, I'm going to reiterate the importance of the breathing. So in for 4, out for 4, to start taking the body back to that place of safety. Also, you might like to look at eye contact and smiling, with someone just to help connect. One thing that I really do feel is that villagers back in the day, our ancestors, had it spot on when they would do things like the dancing and the singing. So one thing that I will do in the morning is I like to sing, have music on in the shower in the morning, start to move around a little bit, and just to start your day off. You want to start your day off nice and good in the morning. And just the tip is to start taking up space. So whether or not you're, in a chair like this, you might, start to sit on a 45-degree angle. Start to take up space. When you're hopping out of bed in the morning, perhaps even before you even put your feet on the floor, I invite you to do open yourself up like a star and just start to take up space. It really helps the rest of the day to have a flow. We want you to start off the day in a positive way. Also invite the viewers to, start to connect more with your friends, your relatives, just for support if you need to. And then for further assistance, please get in touch with a professional therapist, of any modality. It doesn't matter. It's got to be what is right for you. Maybe one thing might not work for you, but perhaps something else will. So I invite you to really, get curious and start to have some adventure around that. Start to explore what is right for you.
Thank you so much, Julie.
No worries. Thank you.
If you would like to know more about living authentically and Julie Makin, please visit her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. That's all we have time for tonight. Goodbye until next week.
If you'd like to know more about our show, please like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.